what does an AI qualification mean at the moment?
Yeah.
What does that actually mean? Does it, because it's ever evolving, isn't it? I mean, it's evolving so quickly at the moment that is that qualification almost out of date the moment it's been awarded?
Hello, welcome to the Test Community Network. I hope you're safe and well. This week we're talking about recruitment and AI's influence on that, and its influence, I suppose, on the assessment and awarding sector, and some of the skills that we're looking at in terms of the jobs and that people are applying for, and whether or not we're going to be looking for AI as being part of the recruitment process. And also, finally, just some of the habits and activities that organisations and candidates are using in relation to AI. So we've got Christina, who's going to do a really brilliant job of just explaining how it works and some of the opportunities that are out there as well, certainly in terms of roles and jobs as well. So if you're looking for a new little job, then this is the place to be. Anyway, more here. So this is Test Community Network. I hope you're safe and well. Welcome. Anything you see and hear on here that you like and love, then go to testcommunity.network. You can subscribe for free, and every week you receive a lovely summary email through that explains everything you missed in your social media feeds, in your email inbox, etc., about what's happening within the assessment sector. Just looking at some of the events that are coming up. So on the 19th, so you might be quick to get this one, but psychometric assessment for high-risk work environments. Proactively mitigating high risk, so kind of on trend with today's topic, I suppose. OECD, turning insights into impact. What do early case studies reveal about the power of PISA for schools? We've got the AIED, second workshop on the automated evaluation of learning assessment content. If you're a FAB member, then you've got access to data and GDPR, cybersecurity and handling data breaches webinar, so that's worth checking that out. Cambridge Assessment Network. There is lots of stuff. If you've not looked at Cambridge Assessment Network, then it's really worth checking it out. So how do I know my assessments have worked well? That's something worth looking at. We have a webinar from assessment to impact to reimagine how we value research. And then OECD aligning teaching with the future of learning. And we have a coffee chat. I think this is the one with Paddy from SPAS and Emily Worthington from Pearson. They're the leaders for the upcoming EATP conference in Dublin. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. We've got the virtual forum from chatbots to AI agents in admissions, and then the last one on the list here, we've got inclusive assessment and feedback, designing multiple options with Gen AI tickets. So it's worth checking that out. I don't know if Gen AI tickets is just tacked on now. I'll take that out later. So lots of events there to fill your delights with. I'm going to get onto the main event today. This is my interview with Christina, and we're going to be talking about AI recruitment. So over to me and Christina in conversation. You're welcome. Thank you for joining me. Are you well?
Yes, good. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Before we start, because some people might not know about your role within the kind of the awarding landscape, do you want to tell them about your role, your company, and what you do as part of the recruitment process for awarding organisations?
Sure. So, hi, I'm Christina Preston. I am the head of awarding and skills appointments at Peridot Partners. We are an executive search agency that works across not-for-profit sectors. My team sits within the education division, and we specialise in awarding assessment, skills and apprenticeships organisations. So we recruit for senior level roles from kind of board and trustee positions to C-suite, right the way through down to specialist operational roles around assessment, qualifications, quality, EPA, you name it. If it's in an awarding organisation, we probably cover it.
Excellent. And what we wanted to do in this session was just, from your perspective, as someone who's working deeply embedded as part of that kind of non-profit awarding space, is just understand the impact of AI. Now, before we kind of got together, I shared a clip from an interview with Dario Amadi about the kind of the impact of potential on white collar recruitment and jobs going forward. And I think it's kind of it's broadly acknowledged within the various industries in the kind of global markets that the AI is going to start having some impacts on on the recruitment process, the people, the skills that people have, who we recruit, that side of things. And I wanted to obviously narrow that down into the awarding space. So I suppose the first question is, is AI impacting at the moment how you recruit for awarding organizations? Have you seen any kind of initial hints that AI is having an effect?
Yes, but not a massive effect at the moment. I think we're at the stage where it's being used in certain aspects of processes. And I think there is some development that's possibly needed around good practice and how to use it to the best of its ability, both from a candidate side, but also from a client hiring manager perspective side of things. I have to say, we use it. As an organisation, we use it to tailor proposals, pitches, job descriptions, even emails. It definitely is beneficial. It helps. It's there to, save time, improve. But at the same time, I think internally, we're really keen that when we do use it, there is good practice behind it. So, we're very good at kind of still sharing with our colleagues to get their input and ideas, and not relying heavily on just that as a process and that as an involvement in the process. And I think that's key, is making sure that there's a good balance and there's good practice behind how it's used and when it's used.
Okay, and one of the kind of, I suppose, the broader things that I want to do, and I want to delve into that a little bit more, but do you, in terms of the AI and its potential to take over those kind of jobs, do you see any immediate threat to the awarding industry in terms of thousands of jobs within the space being wiped out through AI usage by AOs?
Not overnight, no, not by any stretch on that side of things. I think that it's still so much in its infancy in terms of how it's being used and tested. You've got some organisations that have piloted AI and are using it because it's been a success, and there's others where it hasn't been a success. So I think in terms of processes, no, I don't think it's at its capability yet that it's going to wipe things out. I think that there's definitely things that we need to bear in mind for future usage, especially potentially some of those roles that are deemed as the entry level, the admin roles, where things are maybe more automated. Because if we're getting rid of those entry level points, what then becomes the entry level points? And where does actually the automation stop? And then eventually where we do need people, are we actually going to have people that have those skills? Where are we going to draw them in from if we've kind of got rid of the roles that have been the training ground for so long?
Yeah, and I think that was the kind of big point, wasn't it? Just the graduates coming out, the people who are looking for those first-time career jobs, who will eventually become heads of department, etc., because they've worked in an awarding organisation for 15 years and they've built up skills and knowledge. Because is it fair to say that once you're in the awarding organisation kind of landscape, you pretty much there's quite a good sticky kind of feel to that job role?
You mean, is it Hotel California? You can never leave.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, is it like that?
Yes, it is, I would say, on that side. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think anyone leaves school going, oh, I want to go and work for an awarding organisation. But I think once you're in it, it's very hard to get out of it. Not for bad reasons, not because there's no out or there's, it's hard to get a job elsewhere. I don't think there's that. I think the real kind of drive behind the awarding sector, whether you work for a not-for-profit AO or a commercial AO, is really about social purpose. These organisations, no matter how big or small, and which is why I love working with them and have worked with them for, nearly 10 years now, is about that social mission and mobility and about providing opportunities to people through education, skills and learning. And they do that through the qualifications that they offer. So I think it's really hard to then say that they can't offer that internally because those development paths are being taken away through AI or other automated processes. So yeah, I think it's really important that there is homegrown talent. We are, as an industry, we're asked for it by organisations. How do we look at kind of bringing people from externally in? Because there are already limited talent pools in certain areas. So if you're already looking at how do we, and it is a struggle to look at transferring people's skills in, because there is a learning curve, especially in kind of key areas such as regulation, compliance, etc. So if you're already struggling in those areas, and then you're taking away those development paths where people learn those pieces and learn that knowledge, like, what are you going to be doing in the future? How are you going to be developing that knowledge when those development paths aren't there?
It's interesting that it just slightly unplanned question here, but yeah, the idea that it's quite a sticky kind of space, but there is a shortage of staff within it currently. Is there potential that someone could use AI to make the switch? Because I know that, you know, within the awarding space, there's lots of kind of complexities, isn't there, in the kind of the regulation and the standards and the terminologies and those kind of things. Would it actually make the idea of jumping between sectors an easier process, do you think?
Potentially application, but you know,
proof in the pudding, isn't it?
Now without AI, you can line your CV, you can line your cover letter. You don't need AI to do that for you. But you know, the proof is in the pudding on that side of things. And I don't think it's just the awarding sector. You know, I think there's plenty of other sectors where, as a hiring manager, if you've got somebody that has a good foundational understanding and knowledge and can pretty much hit the ground running, versus somebody that you've got to train from, you know, much further back, which one are you going to go for as a hiring manager? You know, you're going to go for that individual that's going to give you your return on investment, because let's be honest, recruitment is an investment process. You know, you invest time in it, you invest money in it, whether you use an agency or not. You know, so who's going to get you your return on investment sooner?
Yeah. And so then in the recruitment process itself, are you seeing, you mentioned there about kind of using, you know, in the kind of, are you seeing much use of AI by candidates in the recruitment process, and also by the organization screening them, the employers? Is that happening at the moment?
Candidates, yes. You know, we do see it in applications, in CVs, in cover letters, and it's used well and it's used badly. You know, we've had applications come in where we have seen quite clearly that someone has just said, tell me how I meet this person's specification, and has literally copied and pasted it. And we know, because there's still Z's instead of S's, you know, that they're talking about themselves in the third person. It's just very unnaturally written. And then if you look at a piece around values, because normally, you know, organizations, you know, meet our values, it's a very formulaic response to that, you know, that you just wouldn't naturally say. So yeah, it is done badly, but it's also done well. And don't get me wrong, like, AI can offer so many opportunities for people that maybe haven't been able to apply well for jobs in the past. So people that have disabilities, neurodiversity, you know, it can be used as a really inclusive and accessible tool, and that's fantastic that it can do that. On the flip side to that is when it's used badly at the other end, and it can really take away accessibility and inclusivity. You know, I've not known any awarding organisations to do this, but there have been horror stories in kind of other sectors where there are kind of applications are run through AI shortlisting processes, and that AI basically says you need to interview these 5 people. Now, in our industry, where there is specific language, where language does vary from organisation to organisation, even such as job titles, is AI at that point yet where it recognises the differences and the nuances between organisations and the language that's being spoken? Can it really compare one person's example of where they've implemented a process successfully to another person's? How can it make that comparative judgment that this person is better suited to that person? If we're talking about, say, non-executive roles where there's a piece there potentially around lived experience, you know, will it recognise that one piece of lived experience is better than another? And who's to say that it even should deem whether one person's experience is better than the other? So I think that's where the human element in recruitment still really needs to take place, is around that shortlisting piece, especially for organisations like ours. Like, yes, we want those skills, yes, we want those expertise, but at the same time, we need to make sure that the person coming in fits the organisation and the people that they're going to work with. And I don't think AI is quite at that level yet where it can say that this person will get on with this group of people.
No, I agree with you there. I think it's interesting you said about the bias side of things, because there must be the process where a human reading a series of CVs is going to have their own kind of bias as part of that. I know it's an important part of the HR process to not have that, but it still happens, doesn't it? There's still humans still have that.
But I think at the moment people very much kind of, it's not done as a one-person thing. Is it a hiring process? If it's done properly, is not one person making that decision from the moment they see a CV to the moment they make an offer. That person coming through the process, the candidate, should have various touch points with people within that organisation, whether that is a panel interview, whether that is a series of interviews in terms of stages where you kind of meet different people. If it's a senior leader, then there's definitely going to be a meet the team, meet the board. Like, at no point is it a single entity making that decision. Even when we recruit for roles, even when we're recruiting for manager roles, we're very rarely dealing with just one hiring manager. There's potentially the hiring manager plus the HR person, for instance. Or there's the hiring manager plus us. When we work with an organisation, we work very consultatively. We, position ourselves as an additional arm to that organisation to support them. So we're technically another touch point. So it's never just a single mechanism to say, yes, this person should get an interview, this person should be offered a role. There are different points to that in terms of that fit piece. And I think that's what's important, is if you're going to use AI to shortlist, it should be used as an aid. It shouldn't be used as the final judge and jury.
Yes, it shouldn't be used as the decision maker, isn't it? And that extends to the assessment process as well, that kind of expert in the loop. I always do think, though, whenever I think of recruitment, I always think of Ricky Gervais and the big stack of, his first thing is to take half the stack, throw them in the bin because he doesn't hire unlucky people. That always makes me chuckle. So in terms of AI skills then within the industry, you said about it's being used as part of the process, but not necessarily. It's, I suppose, growing in terms of its usage at some point. Definitely the candidates are using it at some point. Are awarding organisations starting to look for AI skills as part of their recruitment?
Not that we've noticed. It's not come up in any conversations. I mean, that's a really interesting one of, will it ever come up, I think, on that side of things. I mean, you look even, 5 years ago, maybe, we had Microsoft Office as an essential criteria on most person specs. Now it's just an assumed that everybody knows how to use Microsoft Office or equivalent. Will that be the same? People growing up with AI, is it just going to be one of those organic features? We never put, must know how to operate an Apple iOS or Android, or must know how to operate, Windows Explorer or whatever it may be, kind of thing. So I don't know whether AI will just be one of those organic skills that is just assumed, which again could open up, a lot of issues around kind of diversity and accessibility and inclusion, because then you're opening the door to, digital poverty gaps, potential gender gaps as well. On that side of things, already it shows that I think more males engage with AI than females do. So is that gonna impact on that side of things? Obviously, if you've got access to technology and computers, then you're going to be far more advanced than people that, maybe in low income areas don't have that, maybe. So I think there's a lot there that needs to be looked at. And that's why I think it's really important, like I said at the beginning, around that good practice and what does best practice around AI look like, which sounds like another HR process nightmare. But actually, is it something that we do need to consider going forward around that?
If you saw on an application, someone had put, an AI qualification or something like that, do you think it would enhance their chances at this stage? Maybe not for all roles.
In all honesty with you, and also, what does an AI qualification mean at the moment? What does that actually mean? Does it because it's ever evolving, isn't it? I mean, it's evolving so quickly at the moment that is that qualification almost out of date the moment it's been awarded in the nicest possible way. I know there are AOs that do deliver those. So, you know, I mean, it's hard. I don't know. I don't think so at the moment. I don't think an AI qualification is going to benefit you in any way forward. Now, in the future, if there are AI project managers or AI operations managers or service improvement managers, then probably, yeah. But at the moment, I think we're being a little bit kind of, you know, what is it? I can't remember, think of any kind of sci-fi movies, but that's almost what it feels like at the moment when we're hypotheticalizing.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. And so, setting this AI aside for the second, then, so in the general awarding landscape, what kind of trends are you seeing? What opportunities? What's the kind of growth future for recruitment within awarding organisations, particularly things like assessment? Are you noticing any trends at the moment, or any future insights?
I think there's kind of consistent growth, in all honesty. Obviously, we're about to come up to a big change around endpoint assessment, and there's potential there for change that may happen at a regulatory as well as an operational level. So I think that will be interesting to see. I think kind of digital assessment is only going to continue, whether that involves AI or whether that, I think it probably will, but obviously what digital assessment will look like going forward is going to be an interesting piece. There's always going to be the tricky roles to fill. Quality and compliance are generally the ones, you know, on that side. And I think really what's important, what we're seeing a lot of at the moment actually is at a board level, is trustee recruitment. That is probably kind of our biggest interest point right now. I think
for organisations or for people wanting to become trustees?
For organisations. Historically, a lot of boards, and not just within awarding, you know, across various industries, it's very much kind of been a piece of internal recommendations and referrals. So what you found is kind of, you know, boards that have very kind of like-minded individuals that aren't, you know, that kind of are very, maybe come quite heavily from like the FE sector, for instance, or training providers. Now, what we're bringing to the table in terms of recruiting for board members, the same way that we recruit for CEOs or qualifications managers, wherever it may be, is actually going out and approaching people that have never even heard of an AO, have no idea what an AO even is. And then can bring kind of a lot, you know, so much different in terms of insights and innovation. And the boards that have used us have reported, you know, that they've really seen a benefit in terms of commercial insight, innovation insight, so around kind of digital AI technology, what that looks like actually in real life, pieces around kind of funding, policy. We've had a huge impact, and, you know, it's attracting people from large organizations. You know, we've recruited people from big corporates like BP, BT, KPMG, you know, as well as kind of more local businesses and employers that can feed into kind of local networks and things along those lines. So it's been really interesting in terms of board work, what we've been doing at the moment. And I think a lot of that has come off the back of our FE team for the last 3 years has been running the DFE governor program, recruiting governors into colleges. And again, colleges have seen a massive improvement. So I think, you know, sort of obviously the sectors are very connected. And I think kind of feedback from one piece has kind of potentially led to kind of wanting to see the benefits. And it's been working. We've had repeats come back several times for it. So yeah, it seems to be going well.
Excellent. Well, good luck with the business and the growth, I suppose, to say. And I suppose it's healthy, isn't it, for the industry, for, you know, to be that, I suppose, the constant churn, but the growth. Yeah, if you're saying that there is a growth in the space, then that is quite healthy for the awarding space. It's be interesting to see how this kind of the AI landscape evolves over time. I'd be interested, you know, to maybe get you back on in the future, and, you know, you can kind of give us an update as to what trends you're seeing, particularly in kind of the AI side. I don't think it's going to replace. I think it's going to have some impact in certain industry and sectors. I know there's the quiet layoffs happening in developers, in organizations like Microsoft and people like that. So, it is beginning to have some impact, but where it quite leaves the awarding and the assessment space and the education space, people always say, don't they? AI won't replace the teachers. It's the teachers using AI will excel. So I think that's where I see the potential trend. I don't know if you agree or disagree on that one.
Yeah, I do. I think, I think it's a very human sector. Like I say, that's one of the reasons why I love it. It is a very human sector. I think it's I said before, it's very mission driven. It's very values based. And I think sectors that have that at their heart, whether it's awarding, not-for-profits, charities, not-for-profits in general, that kind of thing, I think it's going to be very hard to completely automate those sectors because they lose what's at the heart of them at the end of the day. And these organisations, whether you're looking at a board level role or you're looking at an entry level role, it's driven by people that want to give back, that want to do good, that want to have an impact and make a difference to other people's lives. And that's a very human thing to feel. And I don't think any kind of AI will kind of be able to replicate that. And with that, yes, it may be able to help with some processes. Yes, it may be able to, make things more effective and more efficient, but I don't think it's going to be able to do a whole AI's job and everyone in that organization's job, because it won't be able to know what we know and feel what we feel in that sense.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's interesting. That's good. That's good. I assume you have a newsletter or something so people who are interested in jobs can sign up to.
Yeah, follow our LinkedIn page, Peridot Partners. Also visit our website, peridotpartners.co.uk. You can sign up for job alerts there, or simply just get in touch. We're happy to provide free advice, free guidance, free support where we can. If people are kind of looking for advice about new roles, whether they're looking for one themselves or looking to recruit one, we're more than happy to support and ask where we can. And like I say, we're not just awarding, we cover across all education fields and all pretty much not-for-profits as well. So again, if someone's looking for a trustee role, then we cover so many different types of amazing organisations, and we're always in desperate need of trustees. So yes, please.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Christina, and I look forward to chatting with you in the future. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tim. Bye.
Yes, thank you very much, Christina. That was excellent. Really kind of insightful kind of view, really, is I suppose the process that organizations go through in the recruitment and what they look for. And I agree, it's a very human. I've always said this to anyone I've spoken to about the kind of awarding and assessment community is that it's people buying from people. It's a people place. So you need to make sure that you get on well with people and can connect with people to thrive. And I think it's, if anyone is out there looking for trustee roles, as Christina mentioned, then it's worth getting in touch. Excuse me. That's it from me this week. I'll be back next week and with more updates and more interviews and more news. But until then, I hope you're all safe, stay well, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.